Just recently, the whole permit, the city for extending our existing. Is that so such a.
Yeah, I don't remember.
We have. Again, he said, it's like, right, so, well, right, yeah, it's just like that. Very.
Right, okay, we just called the meeting to order, this Village of Brasco zoning board of appeals. Today's date is May 14th, 2025. I think that we have a couple housekeeping matters to attend to. Daniel Spinoza is going to be sworn in by Carol Gustafson, village president.
And stand, please. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I
Daniel Spinoza,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois.
and I will faithfully discharge my duties
I will be
as a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Village of Roscoe,
a member of the zoning board of appeals for the village of Roscoe,
Winnebago County, Illinois, according to the best ability or best of my ability.
Winnebago County, State of Illinois, to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for serving.
Okay, and then I think all the board members have a packet, or at least they had a chance to review the packet for tonight's meeting and the agenda. That's missing anything, okay? I guess the next order of business would be approval of the meeting or the minutes of April 9th, 2025, although three of us are not at that meeting because we're new board members who just got sworn in, so maybe we can take a look at those. And if they meet with everyone's approval, then I would ask if there's a motion to approve in a second.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Second, Dan.
Howard,
Brandon, you
I
wanna
was
make
not
it?
there last
Oh, you weren't there either.
These are just to maybe some formal minutes of the building.
Okay.
So, for the CBA.
All right, so I'll go ahead and make a second. Let's go from there. Let's go. Madam Clerk, do you want to call the roll, please?
Sure. Via Patera,
Aye.
Laura,
Oh, Laura Bush.
okay, she's not,
She's not here.
Glenn,
Yes.
am I saying your name correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Thanks.
Skritla? Yes. Spinazola?
yes,
Okay. Smith is not here and Swanson.
Yes.
So that with the minutes would be approved for April 9th, 2025. And then we had any new business. So again, I'll introduce myself, Richard Butera, new member to the zoning board, and I'll let Teresa and Daniel introduce themselves also.
I'm Teresa Skritla as well.
Daniel Spinoza.
Okay. So I think we'll just go. Mr. Swanson, I understand that you're going to be presenting at this point.
10% no. No, I'll recuse myself from that. I don't know, but somebody I think is here for that.
Oh, there was someone else.
Somebody else, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I
you're
thought that you were the one that was gonna be
No, that's okay.
presenting that. Okay.
We thought that, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think that with the.
Oh, okay.
Here's my switch, I think.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kurlikas. Okay, so we can go ahead and take that up at this point. The individual that would be here concerning the planned unit development,
Then just for the record, you might read out the matter we're talking about.
is it ZBA 2025 009? Is there additional numbers, Mr. Clay?
Oh, yeah, I would just say go public hearing for the planning development.
Yeah, well, there's several properties and numbers that are here that are outlined in the agenda for the zoning board of appeals for this evening. The applicant is Anthony Pipitone. There's several documents that have been submitted, a report, the development, housing plans, housing pictures. There is also an application and then stormwater report as to that. So,
And Mr. Boyer will probably present on this village.
okay, thank you. Yeah, that would be fine. Thank you, Mr. Clark.
So, this is the properties at the north end of Prairie Rose Prairie Garden subdivision on the west side by the Schnucks, by kind of Starbucks. This is in a zoning district known as commercial plan, so it was a PUD several decades back, and this area has been planned for multi-family, commercial development, things along those lines. The zoning standards for this development would use the R2 standards, since duplex is the main use that's going to be applied for there. Based on that, these zoning standards in that R2 district are met. The reason that the PUD is needed here is that they'd be both amending the one that's already there for the CPD, but also have multiple buildings on the same parcel. The roadways and streets within the development are going to be private. The ring gutter on one side of the streetways. The landscaping plan is consistent with the village's standards. The added density near the commercial nodes for the Schnucks and Starbucks and CVS is pretty key. The only concern that staff had was the architecture and design of the buildings. The subdivision out there is pretty well designed. There's a lot of architectural detail on the buildings. So looking at the house plans that were provided to staff, we'd like to see a little bit more detail, a little bit more articulation, maybe some ornament on the buildings. So the recommendation there was to have the applicant work with staff directly. Since these are 2-unit buildings and a 1-unit building, they won't be going to design review in front of the ZBA. So having staff work with the applicant directly would streamline the process a little bit and make it easier. So that all in mind, staff recommends approval of the PUD.
Is there any questions of any questions at all for what was presented?
And I believe the applicant is here as well. If you'd like him to speak.
Sure, that would be fine. Mr. Pipitone?
Yes.
Okay,
Hi,
nice for you to be here.
thank you. So. If anybody has any questions, they can feel free to ask.
Well, first off, before we do any questions or anything else, is there anything that you'd like to say at this point? Or
Well-
take questions?
So I'm Tony Pipitone, obviously I'm local from Moscow and stuff like that, so, I just, it'd be a pleasure to decide to do this, it's a new adventure of mine that I wanted always to do, and,
Is this the first development that you have?
it's the first development that I've ever done, yes.
Obviously, there's quite a lot of material that's here, and with a number of us that are new to the board, and we just had an opportunity to take a look at it. So I didn't particularly have any questions at this time. I just wanted to see if anyone else had any questions of you presently.
Sure.
I'll ask, what's your background? So this is your first property that you're building, like not
Well,
the first,
Sure, I'm a landlord, so I own quite a bit of properties, but I've never developed one from scratch. But I'm in that business, so
what's the background that you have in the development?
Part of buying properties and renting. Yeah, that's what I do. I also own local businesses around here. I own a couple gaming parlors as well. So here in Roscoe. Well, so, and I own commercial property and residential property currently.
So I guess the question I have, how many how many units would this be? And again, I tried to review all of this beforehand to take a look at it, but maybe if you could tell a little bit about the property and what the usage is.
So it's 15 building, 29 units. So we're probably gonna be duplexes. And then one unit kind of sits by itself. We have a picture we brought in if we wanna.
Was that single family unit it would just be set apart or?
Correct.
Okay, but it'll still be part of, maybe you have a condo association or
There
association?
will be no association fee. So it'll be rental property, so this is what it will look like here.
So you're Mr. Pipitone, just.
I'm Ryan, it's our civil engineer for our design resources.
Nice to meet you. Just real quick. So you're developing the property, it's gonna be all rental property, you're gonna be the owner of it, is that
Yeah,
right?
yes.
So they're not gonna be set for sale.
No, sir.
Say.
Turn around.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay, everybody needs to see it, so. So where's that one? Is that on the right or over at my
All
right?
right, yep,
Okay, that's that single unit.
right, which will still be a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, like the rest of these. All
Okay, so they're all limited, it's bedroom.
2-bath, 2-car garage, yes, sir.
Do you have any idea what, how it's gonna be marketed? Is it gonna be marketed to families? Is it gonna be marketed more to maybe, single individuals?
Well,
What were you anticipating
So-
in terms of your rent?
Sure. So in base of what the area there is, and I own a business right in that area there.
Business is that?
What's that?
Is that is one of your gaming parlors?
Yeah, so I was, you're right, we own the commercial building, and I have a business there. So in based of what I see that lives a lot around that area is practically retired people.
Okay,
So I'm assuming that's what we're gonna be targeting more or less is gonna be that more retired people, since it's gonna be a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Or maybe a small family.
Are they gonna be handicap accessible for their entry, or since you're targeting the older community? Wheelchair accessible, that kind of stuff.
I believe everything will be handicap accessible. Yes.
there's always a concern that any kind of units or development, that it's gonna be adding to for the infrastructure, school system, things of that nature. And that's kind of why I asked the question about the who you were gonna market to or target in terms of. And I'm not too familiar with the capacity of the school system or whatever, but I think with these kind of units, what you're indicating, that maybe 2 families, maybe one or 2 children or something of that nature.
Well, either that, like a young couple.
Yeah.
Or, somebody like with 1 child or something, because it is a 2-bedroom, correct?
Okay, so it's not,
Or it could be a single person that just has a 2, right? It's not gonna be a family of, married with 3 kids or anything like that.
You have restrictions on your rentals.
Right.
Based on a 2-bedroom
Correct.
with the number of occupants.
I mean, I currently have restrictions on my current rentals where they're at, and, because they're all 2 bedrooms that I own, and, I'm not gonna. If, in base of the bedrooms that we have, it has to be appropriate with the,
for the number of
for
people.
the number of people that
Sure.
that we have.
Can you expand upon those restrictions for your current? Two
What was the
bedrooms?
question?
Can you expand upon the restrictions that you have for your current 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom?
Can I expand?
Yeah, what are they?
Well, so in other words, it's 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage. So it can't be more than either, a couple, single. There has to be 3 people, no more than 3 people there. That's the main thing. So it would be, let's say, a couple and a kid, or something like that, so it's a 3-person, in other words, park. Place, you know, no pets.
And then how long do you anticipate, from breaking ground to, to have things moving, then how long it would take as far as construction?
As far as starting,
Yeah, to start.
I mean, I don't know, I'm hoping maybe around August, we could start July, August, somewhere around there, I mean, not 100% sure on that, because it's gonna take a lot of coordination and stuff to get everything started. We're just kind of taking it one step at a time.
And as far as development like that, does that go in any kind of phases, like you?
Sure.
So many buildings, and then maybe you get those rented and then you start again, or what's your plan?
Well, our plan is to start with 1 or 2 buildings at first and just kind of iron out the wrinkles, and then, this is planning to be maybe a 2 or 3 phase part. So first phase will be 1 or 2 buildings. Second phase, I think, is going to be maybe 4 to 6 buildings, and then the last phase will be the remaining of it.
Finishing off, so that could be over at least a couple year period.
Oh, absolutely, yes, yeah,
That you'd be looking at.
correct.
Just depends on what you're able to do with it.
Yes, sir. We're planning possibly 2 years, yes, sir. I know, after everything, maybe 2.5 years, I'm not sure.
And as far as your application, again, we just didn't have an opportunity to look, but as far as you have all your financing in place and everything.
Yes, sir.
As far as all that goes, you have your approvals, this is not contingent on anything.
And also, everything is, all my finances are online.
Also, so this is like the last part of it. So you can get yourself going, is to come before you get your approvals.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so.
The rent,
What's
what
that?
are the rents be?
Well, I don't have that down because I don't have that down pat yet because it's such a beginning stage, but I'm anticipating around 1,700 to 1,900 bucks. More or less. It all depends to how the market is between now and 2 years, obviously,
Correct.
because I won't know that.
Right, the rental assistance with that, like section 8 or.
No.
Anybody else that has any questions or something? You're kind of out of the loop.
What we're approving tonight would be just including all of these PIN numbers into one, or actual approval of the
I
development.
think that,
Maybe explain what we're asking for.
sure,
Yes.
that would be fine.
So the first approval tonight would be to establish the planned unit development zoning. And then the second item tonight would be the actual plan that would combine all those parcels into one. And then the next.
Just detail how it currently is set up there with the multiple parts.
So there's about, what is that, probably 12 different parcels right now that make up the area of what's being applied for planned unit development. So combining those into one is what's key to kind of locking this in, to have the PUD in place so that then it can be combined. And the next steps would be the zoning permits and kind of going through with the actual.
Do you want to just make what a PUD is, just for the public and for new board members?
So planned unit developments are kind of a more customer, almost like a negotiated kind of zoning where maybe a development doesn't fit squarely into the village's zoning ordinance, or maybe there's 1 or 2 codes that they might need flexibility from. The one here tonight is really about the multiple buildings on one lot, which the village spells out its planned unit development team at occur. So that's the main part of this approval, but yes, planned unit developments are more a negotiated thing between a village or a city and an applicant, so you can request flexibility from zoning dimensional standards, bulk standards, landscaping, parking, almost anything that's within the code that's not health or safety. So that's kind of what's on the agenda tonight, then.
All you're asking us to take, is just putting it all into one parcel for this development. And then to talk about any variances as to that.
Correct.
And we would have future votes on that, is that correct?
Well, this public hearing is the vote on the actual plan unit development to allow the multiple buildings on a lot. And there's no other variance that would be needed right now.
So I guess other than the fact that there's multiple buildings on one lot, are there any other things that wouldn't meet village code currently?
So I have a question, that these weren't in the mailing, the email, there's 3 letters that were sitting on these.
So we'll read those as well in the record, in a moment too, when we have more, a lot more public testimony as well. We will absolutely read those things as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Pipton, is there anything else that you'd like to add or?
I mean, unless anybody else have any questions that I can answer to the best of my knowledge, obviously.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Next, we go to public comments at this
Yeah,
point.
this is part of the hearing, so this will be sworn testimony too, as well.
So. Again,
I suppose just-
new to the
I
process,
think
I would just ask if there's any individuals that are here that would like to comment on this. The only thing we would ask is that if you are gonna comment, just so we know who you are, to be able to do the sign in. And then, of course, you would be limited, I believe, to 3 minutes each or so, or we can.
The testimony will, it's more, a little more flexible than that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So is there anyone here that would like to comment on anything that's been brought up? Yes, ma'am.
And you might come up and just state your name, or you can stand where you are even.
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
just so we can hear you and see you.
I had a leg injury, so.
We can have some.
Stumble and
You
fall.
need us to put a seat on here for you? You don't have to stand. You sure you'll be okay?
That would bother you? And I'm addressing you. I'm Margaret Bout, one of the owners of Roscoe Rock and Sand. So our property adjoins or is very close to property that we're discussing. Start off with one of the things we have concern, of course, because of the water runoff. And we're assuming that between the architects and the engineers that would be already taken care of. And I asked that to Evan or.
And we'll have Brandon's our engineer, if you want to have him address it after.
That would, yeah, that would be.
Just after the comments and address.
Yes, that's one of your concerns is the runoff and that you want to make sure that that's all set and taken care of and that's going to address. the-
Yes, so that it's not running off into our property.
Okay, that would be fine. And Brandon, I'm sorry, I can't see your last name.
Ernie Box.
Okay, then Mr. Boggs will go ahead and comment that if we can go to any other concerns.
Okay. Yes, but one of the other ones is we would like to save the village some money. And that would be through the police department. What happens is we have a lot of traffic coming over the hill from Prairie Rose now. And then the village police have to come out and investigate who's out there and why they're out there. So we are under a lot of regulations for having a mine. So we would like to say then, let's save some village money by having some kind of protection or barrier so that the young people and actually adults also can't get into the quarry. This is really a safety issue and that we're very concerned about safety of the children. As you know, there's been 2 deaths at quarries or small subdivisions in the last 2 years. We are always concerned. We have signs up there that doesn't deter them from coming in at all. So there's no trespassing sign. So our issue is safety, okay? Another one, as we see that they have made paths coming out of Prairie Rose over our berms and down into the quarry. Okay,
So do you
They
think
leave
some barriers may help with that? Is that what some barriers?
The zoning board, if this is something that would be satisfactory, yes.
Yes.
Okay. We do have Woodbury subdivision, right behind us also. Excellent neighbors on both sides. They actually watch over our quarry for the hours that we're not there. And my son Steve is there most hours other than like the Sunday hours that we were not there. Couple other things. And any question about the safety and saving you some money at the police department? So they could be handling other things rather than coming down and having to either. They try not to arrest. They always come back to my office and ask, do you want to arrest these people? When it's the young people, we try to say, could you take them, get to their parents and talk to the parents. And then if there's they come a second time, then that becomes an issue and then they can be arrested. Okay. We're under a lot of governmental regulations. It's called MSHA. Some of you know what OSHA means. Well, we're under the rules of MSHA. That's the mining. And I can't go down to that quarry unless I've signed into the quarry that I am going down. The regulations are very strict. Okay, and we follow all of those. But one other question we had, when Woodbury became a subdivision, they had, I know these individuals have, I believe, one deed, because you're going as an entire piece of property, is that right? One deed?
This is one property, correct?
Pardon me?
Yes, this is one parcel.
Okay. So in the Woodbury subdivision, if they sell one of their properties and decide to move out, there is already on the deed a disclaimer that tells us, or tells them, if they're selling it to someone, that there's a setup. We really have regarding the quarry site, it tells them that they can't try and make any changes to our property. Okay. Any other questions they might have, or anything I can help you with?
Just one question I had, I mean, the people that you have problems with trespassing, are those mostly young people that are there?
There are a lot of young people, but we've also find, and then when Steve tries to get to talk with them and everything, they ignore him completely.
Okay.
And so that's the time when we do notify the police that, something's going on. There's another thing, and this happens in our quarries, both quarries, because we have a quarry on both sides of the road. We find that adults come down there, they want to fish, they want to picnic, leave a lot of debris, and so do the young people. They leave a lot. Sometimes we find fishing poles. We find a lot of things down there that, we should not have, and we should not have to clean them up either. Okay.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Okay, anything else? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else that'd like to make some comments? Mr. Boggs, maybe you'll address the drainage and water runoff issue.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
So the existing site, the very northeastern portion, currently has a dry well structure, essentially connected via storm sewer that a portion of the property currently drains to. During preliminary meetings with the engineering firm and staff, we did a historical search of there's existing detention basins on the south side of the site. Detention basins or ditches, we don't really know. We didn't have records actually dating back to why those were constructed. But the way we instructed the applicant is that they would have to provide their own on-site detention for the development. So that is what they've done via a series of connected ponds, mostly along the south side of the property, just north of the existing roadway. All of those detention ponds have to be designed to accommodate a 100-year storm event. So essentially these ponds will act as the holding facilities, and then, the water will slowly, with a combination of dry wells, will slowly infiltrate and then release from the site. So with the concerns of the drainage onto the property to the north, I can tell you that adequate drainage detention has been accommodated for the site, and there are no negative impacts that are anticipated.
Okay. Did you have a question?
No, I think-
Just want to make sure that since he did explain that, if you had any questions, you can go ahead and ask them. Good luck. Okay, thank you. Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
Jay Holmes from Roscoe Fire. I do the plan reviews for new developments and businesses and stuff. And this may be for engineering. I see the legend says 3 hydrants are added. Is that on the private drive? Is it between the buildings or
So, I do not have the plans in front of me.
can't tell on the drawings
So
if there's a key or not?
should be, and I apologize for not knowing off the top of my head. So keep it.
You don't have to be real deep. I just saw that there was three, but.
Yeah, so the hydrants are definitely required. Usually the water main design goes through North Park Public Water District for their review and approval. We typically don't comment on things as far as the water supply and
Okay, I didn't know if they were marked on the drawing. I couldn't see.
they should be, yeah, I would have to, it is likely on the utility plans. I apologize for that.
It looks like there are three.
Yeah, three, that's what I recall as
Okay.
well, before there is some of the minor comments were addressed through the North Park Water Review.
I'll talk to you.
Anything else?
You know, we did receive 3 letters, that were asked to by them, so.
Yeah. Sure, if you like, yeah, if you could summarize them in, this way we have a record of that.
We received these today, one yesterday, so I think it's called today, but, we have one dated, it's May 13th. To the Village Roscoe Zoning Board of Appeals, and this is from, Mr. Dennis J. Gillig. Signed from the Gardens of Prairie Rose, they said, we, the Garden of Prairie Rose, appreciate the CBA and staff has recommended the buildings and the property be more dressed up. I know the Gardens of Prairie Rose are the development that's in that same to the west side of that area there. When we built, we over landscaped, now we continually add landscaping as things die out. We feel more at home and it makes renting much easier and we have well presented property. One goal was to have architectural interests on all 4 sides of the building. And he describes the architecture that they've got there. Adding trim makes a big difference. Look at the property. Adding windows suggested by staff and CBA makes things a little nicer. The walkway we suggested in another letter could be, and I believe it's the other letter he's referring to. Could be 4 feet instead of 8 feet. We have 8 feet as to have bikes on them. We encourage the village to help create quality properties living next to ours. So that's from Mr. Gillig of Prairie Rose, developer of that property. Next letter we have also from the Prairie Rose, Gardens of Prairie Rose. We present the Gardens of Prairie Rose, and this is, I don't know, none of these are signed or sworn, so these will just take them as you will on these. But we present the Gardens of Prairie Rose apartments to the south of petitioner's development. When we built the gardens on Prairie Rose, we negotiated with the village regarding sidewalks required for building our project. We arrived at an 8-foot walking and bike path, and we're told that buildings in the area, we need to follow the requirements. It has not happened. View the area, our property is the only property following the agreement other than Falcon Ridge. We need to consider your requirements and make them consistent. Not adding a path will burden us because the only path in the subdivision the public uses maintained by us. We like to ask the village to recognize. Oh, and then there's another comment is we would like to ask the village to recognize that the name of the new development should not be similar to our name. They should have a name that stands alone. I will note that I think what they're talking about on this, there is I think it's easy to see on this Google map. There's a bike path, recreation path that goes around the whole perimeter of the property. Of this property, so it goes through here, all the way through here, the sidewalk down this way. And goes through the full sort of circle of this development here. This was all developed as Evan mentioned as a PUD originally, or I think it was a CPD, but as a PUD. A master plan PUD, this is sort of the specific part of it. There's a general one that's the whole development. And so there is a path that goes through the whole property. And the applicant's property would be market here. The applicant's property would be the property that's up on this northern part here. Is what we're talking about. So it is across the street from the recreation path. So it does attach to the recreation path. So directly across the street of Prairie Rose Drive. But I believe that's what they're talking about, is that path that goes the entire circle of the floodplain development in that area. And then the final letter we received is from Ethan M., City of Roscoe resident. Zoning Board of Appeals to the ZBA, resident writing comments about items 3 and 4, which are these items. But they have continued residential development, developing single-story ranch units. Developing single-story ranch unit style that are handicap accessible not only helps short-term housing needs, but provides long-term options for aging residents and individuals. And his comments are that the packet lists the board concern, list of board concerns surrounding the neighborhood, including that the surrounding neighborhood includes a higher degree of architectural detail other than the sort of residential neighborhoods. Hope developer adds I hope the developer adds board recommended ornamental features to the plan design. Understanding design elements and material labor costs. Developers can be reluctant because of this. I strongly feel encouraging. Incorporating a higher level of design and craftsmanship will continue to elevate Roscoe community appeal. Hope this development considers stacking its features. And then he also notes there is no private public walkway that connects the community to existing walkways in the broader community. These units should be within walking distance of the Hanukkah path, restaurants, coffee shops, grocery store. The developer and so you incorporate walking paths into the development. Again, I know there is a path that connects that whole development together directly across from Prairie Rose. But again, want to make sure the board recognizes the need for connecting the areas. Those will be added into the record.
This point, Mr. Palinkas, as far as procedural matters, should we do voting on PUD at this time? As indicated, and Evan again, I'm having trouble seeing the last name, so I don't want to hear just by
Evan Hoyer.
just call you by your first name. As Mr. Hoyer has been suggesting, so.
That's up to you if you have more discussion, if you want to make any recommendations to it, or you can vote to recommend approval of the planning development as recommended by.
Okay. Just as a review, very quickly.
Sure.
Just tell us again what you would like us to be able to vote on at this point, or what we need to vote on at this point.
Yeah, so this item is just going to approve the overall zoning layout site. And that one flexibility of having those multiple buildings on the same lot. Now, the only conditions that are in there are the kind of design. That staff and the applicant will work together to kind of create a design, come together on a design that complements the surrounding neighborhood.
Is there any discussion from the board at all, or any comments that anyone on the board would like to make?
With these letters, what's the anticipated name of this place? Of your development?
I haven't really decided. I mean, I did have an idea. It's off of Prairie Rose. I was gonna keep the Rose name and call it Bella Rose. My daughter's name is Isabella, so I figured I would call it Bella Rose.
But I just want to make sure people aren't thinking they're gonna be part of Prairie Rose where they have the amenities, because that's not being shared, correct?
I think maybe what the confusion was, maybe with that letter we received, this plat is already plat 3 of Prairie Rose. There's plat 1 is, I think plat 1 is the farthest one to the west, plat 2 is the one that's directly next to this one. And then this is already plat 3 of Prairie Rose, so maybe that's what they were seeing on the packet, that this will be plat 3 of Prairie Rose, what the official plat it currently is, already been approved previously, so maybe that's what the confusion was, but. Yeah, I don't know, but that's just be aware that the name of the plat itself, the subdivision itself is plat 3 of Prairie Rose.
Okay.
Does the zoning board have any authority over how he can name his property? And whether or not we approve? Yeah.
But I think that maybe helps the confusion.
I had a question on the design, so are we discussing this road at this time? Or not the road, but the walkway, the bikeway?
You could definitely discuss it, and with the PUD, you have, since it's a negotiated process, that gives the ZBA a lot of leverage, so if you wanted to maybe talk about requiring some sort of connection to the walkway or path, that's definitely up for consideration.
Okay, is that something that we can do later, Mr. Kalinkas?
And I guess I would say tonight's, this is the approval of that PUD itself, and that plat. I mean, we'll go to the village board for final approval, so we'll go to the village board,
Sure.
committee of the whole, and then village board for approval. But really, if there's some discussion about that, so that would be the initial discussion.
Okay, well, I think at this point, maybe if the board goes into a private session, is that allowed?
probably not for this,
I think if the original development had restrictions on creating a walkway and a pathway, why would not plat 3 not be held to the same standards?
I don't believe that's accurate. We haven't found anything with that, so.
If I may, so one of the key components of this development is the roadway is going to be a private roadway. So therefore, they are not required to have they are not required to have sidewalks, recreational paths. If this were going to be a public roadway, our ordinance defaults to having sidewalks on both sides of the street. So as Evan stated, this is a negotiation. You are able to place, additional requirements on the development. Not saying that is being recommended by staff as of right now. But it is something that can be discussed. But ultimately, when it comes down to is it's not required because they're not public roads. And therefore, this is their application.
Well, a little bit of, there's somewhat of a problem, not in terms of the development, and with all due respect to you, Mr. Pipitone, this has nothing to, this is just a transition of the board to individuals that have not been on the board and haven't really had a chance to take a look at the entire matter. And it's very difficult. And that's the reason I asked Mr. Kurlinkus if we can go into a little bit of a private session so we can discuss this to see if there's any concerns that any of the board members would have, only because the familiar, being familiar with it makes it a much easier process for us. It makes us able to ask better questions and to really know what we want out of the situation, at least as far as the board, and to be making recommendations to the village trustees, so that they can vote on different things.
I'm sorry, we'll note that you can always lay over a matter. You can always lay something over, you're not required to vote on it. So you can always lay it over.
That's what I was just trying to get to, is because it's hard within just a few minutes, and, because board members, of course, can talk informally between themselves, and think that, or contact Mr. Boggs or Mr. Hoyer. So it's not an effort to try to delay anything, Mr. Pipitone. I know you want to get going on this right away and stuff, but it just is, it's not that it's unfair. It's just a little counterproductive for the board to be able to just vote on something that you really don't have any knowledge about and say, oh geez, we should have did something a little bit different. Because as Mr. Hoyer indicates, if it is a negotiating process, it might be just something small or something of that matter. So I think that at this time that I think that maybe we should try to lay that over. I don't know what other concerns any of the other board members are here. Obviously Mr. Swanson is not part of this, but there is no one else here other than the four of us, and to see what each of you think of the matter. Mr. Hoagland, do you have any comments or any concern?
Looking at the map, there appears to be a walking path on the other side, the south side of Prairie Rose, that goes around the inner part, the inner circle. So there's already something there. So I don't know, putting something in for that. I like that there's already some recommendations for the design of the buildings if we did for approval, but the walking path isn't one of those. But there's something already there close to it. I don't know, it's necessarily.
Who pays to maintain current sidewalks or path?
I would say that those are part of the homeowners association. The roadway is the village took that roadway over. Initially, this was all designed as private roads, and then there was some history of negotiations, I guess, in the past that these got turned over to the village by a previous village board who accepted these roadways. So I think this was all originally developed to be a private subdivision and private roadways. And then X number of years ago, the village agreed to take over these roads. So I think they took over the roadways themselves they took over, and I believe the path stayed with the homeowners association.
The Gardens of Prairie Rose.
Yes.
So they pay for the maintenance of all of it.
That's my understanding, yes. Or the previous developments.
Is there any comments, other comments or?
My question really goes down to the recommendations. So. If we approve it tonight, we approve the planning and development. And then you guys go through those design recommendations.
Mhm.
And there's disagreement, does it come back to be approved again?
That could be something that if there is, we can't come to some sort of agreement, it could come back here. But I mean, I think we're fairly certain that we didn't want to bring this and kind of debate the design here on the floor and then kind of have it more staff, since that'd be the typical duplex, single family building permit process is what we'd be looking at that and holding it to. So that was the thinking there. But yes, if there was a disagreement and we couldn't come to a conclusion, it would most likely come back here.
Eventually, there is a design review meeting, right, Joseph?
I don't believe this will have design review because they're the.
3 units and over is what required design review. Duplexes and single family are just a zoning permit, building permit.
Right, my only comment would be that I believe that we should attempt to lay this over, just take another look at it, or not another. To take an initial look at it, just to make sure that there isn't anything else, because then to me, it's kind of voting on it blindly. And I'll just repeat again to Mr. Pipitone, it has nothing to do with your presentation or your situation. I think it's just the transition of the board to be able to have the information so we can make an informed vote and informed decision. So I guess at this point, we'll have to bring it to a vote.
Do a motion and a second for the layover? Do we?
I can make the vote.
Oh, yeah, we need a motion and a
Okay,
second.
I'll make a motion to lay it over. And,
I second it. I think I want to look at it more.
okay,
Hoagland,
Yes.
Spinozola,
Yes.
Gutierrez, yes.
Scribner,
Yes.
and Swanton.
Abstain.
I guess along the same lines, would you also like to lay over the next item, which is the plat approval?
Yeah, we can go ahead and do that. So I'll make the motion as to that. Second as to that.
Second it.
Thank you.
This is motion lay over 2025 times approval of the tentative and final plat of the Prairie Garden plat.
Yes.
Okay, yep.
Sarah Gutierrez was number, you motioned it,
Yes, it was.
and Scribner was the second. Okay. Swanton,
Abstain.
Scribner. Yes. Gutierrez,
Yes.
Hoagland,
Yes.
and Spinozola.
Yes.
And then I believe we're passing at this time, then we'll lay over both issues to the next ZBA meeting. Give us all an opportunity to confer between ourselves and take a look at it. And then we can make further comments, and then I think we'll be in a position to vote. To do that. Mr. Palikis, the next matter. That'd be
I think number 5, we're on,
Yeah.
which would be the public hearing on the annexation map amendments for the single family residential estate district for 18.45 acres of property, commonly known as 92. It's not addressed, but Sheringham Drive, pin number 0811 100-013. This is for an annexation for a parcel property. I believe the applicant and the attorney for the applicant are present.
So if we want to take the applicant and make comments first. Good evening. How are you?
Good evening, I'm Casey Chadwick. I'm the attorney that's representing the applicants here. This is before you, it's property that is not currently in the village. We're asking for the annexation of this property. It's currently There is, it's in the village, that subdivision to the south of it is currently in the village. There is a subdivision to the north of this property that is in the county. So there's subdivisions both to the south and to the north of this larger parcel. What we're proposing is lot 1 be annexed in as residential estate. And lot 3 would be dedicated to the village as an extension of Sheringham Drive. Just with that roundabout so that they would have access to their residential property on lot 1. It's and then lot 2 would remain in unincorporated Winnebago County. We are asking right now that lot 2, all the property is zoned ag in the county. The county's long-term plan for that on their planning is residential. I think it's our medium density residential. So this would obviously be a lesser use, and it's what we're looking for is just having one parcel for that lot 1 to be annexed in, and actually building only one single family home on that lot 1.
And lot 1 is the green for those.
Well, yeah, lot 1 is the
sorry.
green, sorry. The yellow would remain in the county unincorporated. The green would be annexed in. We'd ask for it to be the rural estate zoning classification. There is property on that area that is currently being used farmed for agricultural purposes, and so we'd ask that existing agricultural use also be able to be maintained for areas that will be continue to be farmed, with the exception of obviously the area that they use for the building of their residential home. There is obviously access to public roadway off of Sheringham Drive, and we, with the dedication, would be having that access extended and dedicated. We have talked with the property owners in the subdivision, both to the south and to the north, have been to the village. We've been working with them. There were some concerns about whether or not this would be a larger subdivision. The Twigs are interested in just building their one piece of property, just the one unit, so that this accomplishes that. I think that I'm hoping that that's why there's not other homeowners here today to object, to try to make sure that those homeowners felt comfortable that this is just intended to be this one property for the one residential use, so.
There's no intention of building on another property. You're not asking for that.
We're not asking
Just
for
asking
that.
Just have one
Just have
parcel.
one parcel, yeah.
Just give this board some background, so
Yeah.
as Attorney Jarrett mentioned, this is the second time we brought this back, sort of completely from scratch. We brought this back now, it was here previously for a public hearing. We do have a lot of neighbors here, and the concern, as mentioned, was that this would be developed or that this would be used for subdivision or some other issue. And that's why it was brought into the village. And so as our village board went, the ZBA previously recommended it, our village board committee recommended approval. But I think it's because the concern of the Twigs, the new property owners, were wanting to be good neighbors to the residents, and they've told us that. And so we brought this back in. I know that they've negotiated, or they've talked with the property owner, the neighbors to the south and that subdivision to the south. And this is what we came up with, was this plan where to show that they are just annexing that one portion into the village to be developed for their single family home. So that's why this has come back here, but it was really at the request of the applicants. And if they told us, we want to bring it back in, they knew it was approved, would be approved by the board, it got recommended to be approved. But because of the neighbors and the conversations that were had at those board meetings, they came up with this new plan to bring in just that one portion as a rural estate zoned location.
sounds fine.
And then I think Brandon, do you want to address the turnaround though?
Yep, so in order to have access to the parcel that they're wanting to build their home on. There's currently a dead end road to the subdivision to the south that is Remington Creek. As part of, I believe, what was a tentative plat showed a roadway connection continuing from the south into the lot closer to lot 2, where you can see kind of the floodplain that's hatched there. Obviously, as we've discussed, that future subdivision is no longer in the plans. So as part of that, we are going to require them to build a cul-de-sac extension and dedicate that to the village as public roadway. So that will have to be built to the village's standards. We need that obviously for fire access, any emergency vehicle access, and then just general traffic circulation. So
The cost that they is paid for by.
Yeah.
By the applicant, yeah.
Any other questions from anyone on the board? Is there any other things that you, council, that you'd like to present or? Said pretty much what you're like, okay. Okay, well, I think is there a motion that we should vote on this at this time?
I'm familiar enough with it.
Okay, that's. All right, well, why don't we go ahead and make a motion to vote? Yeah, is there anyone here that has any other concerns? I know Mr. Kurlinkus indicated that neighbors were here. In full
Yes,
force the
they were.
last time that the matter came up. Is there anyone else?
And I will note, just, I can push for the record, I guess, I'll note that, at that last, that meeting we had with the neighbors at the last ZBA meeting and the board meeting as well. The board requested that we issue notices. We usually issue notices just to adjoining property owners within a certain distance. Notices were mailed out along with that map you saw to all the neighbors in that subdivision.
Okay,
So everybody who's in that subdivision received that, plus we had our big notice board up there. We had a few questions about, can I ask what this is, and they saw that, I believe Ms. Chadwick probably addressed most of those with them. But all the neighbors in that subdivision did receive a copy of the notice for tonight's hearing as well as that map.
okay, that would be fine. Anything else or any other concerns or questions? Talked about this. Okay, that would be fine. So, motion to vote.
Motion.
Yep, I'll make the motion. We go ahead and vote. Second, thank you.
Swanson,
Yes.
Scridla,
Yes.
Katura,
Yes.
Spinzola,
Yes. Yes.
Motion passes at this time. And, motion is granted. Thank you very much, council. Thank you. Good luck to you. And the next item is number 6, Mr. Kurlinkus.
I'll turn over to Evan, Mr. Hoyer in a moment here. So this item has been in front of the board previously, it's more of an informal discussion. This will be your, of course, this new board's first listening to this. So the village, we did their zoning ordinance in 2011, right? 2021, sorry. Fairly recently. And there were many changes to that zoning ordinance. And as we're starting to work through it, we had a lot more applications this last year. We got a lot more zoning permits coming through this last year. And as we're doing that, we're finding maybe there's some items in the zoning ordinance that need to be updated or changed to make it easier for development or even just easier to administer, for people to understand and to be able to use. So one of those, these next 2 items are brought forth by our consultants, Vanderwall Associates and Evan. And staff would recommend, we got a whole list of them that will be coming for you over this next year. But these are the sort of the next 2 that we're going to bring up for discussion, where we're trying to maybe clarify or clean up our zoning code a little bit to make it a little more usable, understandable, for the public, really, for developers. So I'll let Evan can sort of address this next item and sort of explain what we're doing and where we were, and then what we're doing now.
Sure, so guess you guys kind of got a little bit of introduction, kind of a refresher to PUD tonight. It's this kind of custom negotiated zoning district where the applicant can request flexibilities or certain variances from the code. And before that 2021 rewrite, the village had a two-step process, which is common throughout municipalities. The state around pretty much anywhere for PUD, where the first approval is what's called a general development plan, which is the zoning, the layout for the site, and the precise implementation plan, which goes off of that approved zoning that implements the landscaping, engineering, utilities, parking, and any other kind of smaller detail approvals. So the 2021 rewrite combined that all into a one-step process. So it's kind of onerous on the developer to create as many of those expensive detailed plans as possible to maybe not even have a shot at this zoning layout, site plan approval. So the amendment that came forward and kind of Vanderwall and Associates created was to go back to that two-step process and provide a little bit more flexibility for the developer to come forward with a site plan, concept plan, some sort of zoning application for that general development plan so that they can get an approval for the general overall development and then come back with the more detailed site plans and utility plans and engineering. So that's the main change that was going to be made. A few comments from the ZBA last time. A traffic impact assessment, location of utilities and stormwater management report were requested to be put into the general development plan, so the kind of concept stage, if staff deemed it to be required, or maybe that the public thought that maybe a traffic impact assessment might be warranted for development one way or the other. The second stage was initially called a specific implementation plan. That's going to get changed to precise implementation plan to match what's kind of in the general area. There was a minimum lot size standard for PUDs that was 3 acres if you were next to adjacent development, or 5 acres if you were near undeveloped land. We provided an infill development standard just to accommodate. Often PUDs are used where sites are constrained or might not be able to meet the full standard of the code and require flexibility, where if you have a site that's 5 acres or 3 acres big and you're trying to do some sort of development, you often can accommodate some of those things. So putting a standard in that for infill that's around already developed areas and kind of in these kind of built out places, that's what's common with PUDs. It's kind of, you don't often see that it's just for those larger subdivision or developments like 3 acres or 5 acres. And then finally, just changing terms, plan development and planned unit development, just for consistency within the ordinance. So those were the major changes.
I had a quick question. Do you think that two-step process would benefit the, you said it benefits the developer so that they don't have to just come in like with this huge package.
Sure.
Try to have everything, and I know that there's a lot of expense that goes along with it. But do you think that it also help, in your opinion, help the board to be able to kind of sort through it a little bit? Because then again, look, take like this evening, we got some material, you haven't had a chance to review it all or whatever, and if you have all kinds of stuff that you have to go over. So do you think, in your opinion, that two-step process will help a little bit?
I think definitely the general development plan is a lot more digestible. You can really read through it and maybe understand what's being asked and what maybe the variances or flexibilities they're requesting are more clearly. And it definitely would probably cut down on staff time if we're sinking a lot of staff time into looking at these very detailed or detail-oriented things where there might not even be a development that comes from it based on the density or zoning or something, then might save time there as well.
Yeah, just deal with it. Okay.
Tonight's example was perfect. I think, yeah, it was a perfect example of what the issue is really. You've got, hundreds of pages in here, right? All those pages. So because this is the developers coming in saying, hey, I want to put in all these multifamilies on this single parcel. Before you can even do that, at this point, he's also had to come in, he had to provide all of the land engineering, he had to provide landscaping plans, he had to provide utility, the roadway, all of that, right? He didn't even know if you were going to approve that tonight.
Yeah.
We thought for this particular one, probably would make sense because it's, it's all the same as that neighborhood there, but he really wouldn't have known that. And we've had ones where we've had developers come in, maybe on more greenfield areas, that more out of the limits of the village. Or even some infill, as Evan was mentioning, where they don't know if the board, the CBA, or the village board, for that matter, are going to approve even having this type of development, this general concept here. Here's a general roadway layout, here's types of buildings we're gonna have. So this allows that split up of those issues, right? Here, can't even do what I want to do, and then if you say, yeah, this is generally okay, then it's coming back with all the detail, all the more expensive plans, and then all the staff time, right? For Brandon and Evan to review all those detailed plans as well. So
yeah,
that's sort of what the history of this is, and sort of the background.
Well, that seems to make some sense. Is that, like you said, is it something that you'd even consider to begin with before we get that whole ball going?
Yeah.
And everything to do that. Okay, is there any other questions or comments? From anyone on the board?
I think the changes are good. I mean, I was here last time, we talked about them. I like the infill addition. I think that's smart too. But no, I think the additions and changes are pretty good.
Any other comment? Any public comment at all? Mr. Bugs, did you want to add anything to it?
I have no comments. I made a few recommendations based on what Vanderwall Evan had put together. But substantially, it's very difficult sometimes talking with the applicants, and I have to say, hey, you have to spend $25,000 to $50,000 on a traffic study. You have to, do your full utility design just for the chance that it doesn't get approved. So I really like the two-step process. I think it's going to be very good.
Chief, is there any concerns that you might have in public safety perspective?
Nope.
Okay. Okay. Is there anyone like to make a motion and vote at this point?
Motion.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, if you can go ahead and call the roll, please.
Kutiro,
Yes.
Evelyn,
Yes.
Gridlock,
Yes.
Spinizzola,
Yes.
Mr.
Oh,
Swanson.
I'm sorry, Swanson.
Yes, me, that's me, yes.
I did it the last time.
Yes.
Well, then, those amendments and recommendations pass at this time. I think it all makes sense, or at least all of us indicated it makes sense to do that as far as that process to help everybody all the way around. And we have one item that's left then, Mr. Kurlinkus.
Yes, and so this is what we've been trying to do, and we'll be doing with the village board too. This is trying to bring these in initially just for a discussion, some ideas, input from the village, from the ZBA. On some other zoning change. So this is not a formal public hearing yet. This will come back, regardless, will come back to this board for a formal hearing on it. But this is to the initial sort of introduction. See what you think, see if there's anything that pops out at you that you like some changes on, or request more information about, or different types of ideas from Evan, from Vanderwall and Associates. So I'll turn over to Evan to go over this next slide.
It would be fine.
So for this one, we've had a couple applicants, developers, builders come forward and kind of think about or ask about how they can do some sort of townhome, residential attached, single family attached sort of development, and then kind of how they would split that, even if they wouldn't be using a condo plat. So the two main, or maybe three main major changes that I have in the red line document are, for one, this would create a new residential attached zoning district that would accommodate townhomes, some sort of single family attached, that's not so much a townhome. Duplexes are included in there as well. The purpose of it and intent of this is really to just kind of set the stage and set a zoning district for those things so that they have some sort of area to operate in. And the actual bulk standards that are in the red line document came from some of our R2 standards, some standards from communities around the area. That generally seem to fit and be consistent with what we would require as well. And the architectural design standards, I kind of in the process of processing the earlier item that and then looking at this ordinance. And then maybe some of the letters that came in too, there's a little bit of pressure to either streamline or update the residential design standards in the village. So with the red line document, I kind of reorganized the ones for R1, R2, and then provided some updated ones for this new residential attached district as well. And those are a little bit more stringent or detailed, just to ensure that development that does come through that has this townhome or attached quality remains high quality and aesthetically appealing, architecturally ornamental. And then there's been some conversation about garage placement in the village as well, so that was also a major-ish change, that pushing that back so that we don't have these kind of long elongated garages off the front of houses, and that the front facade remains kind of the focal point of homes and townhomes and even duplexes in the village as well. And then the second major change in the red line document is to the minor land division regulations. So this creates a minor land division process that applicants, developers, builders, property owners can go through, where we could process a minor land division, so it wouldn't have to go through the full tentative and final plat process. And this is common in communities around the area, around the state, other communities in Wisconsin we work for. This just kind of streamlines that, makes it so that land divisions that are less than 5 parcels, so up to 4 parcels, would be able to be processed by the village and not have that big of a administrative or developer expenses. So with that, I think the only big question that I really was looking for the ZBA to give some feedback on tonight was if you thought that an appropriate level of review would be for ZBA to process those minor land divisions, or if a staff review would be sufficient. So that was the only large thing I was looking for feedback on, but obviously anything within that document or anything you can think to add would be great.
Any comments or any questions? Any board members? Mr. Boyer? Okay, so we're not necessarily voting on this tonight, you just want feedback for looking at that. I think that at this point, again, because of the transition, my opinion, that maybe we just have an opportunity to look at this and think about some things so we can have a good discussion about it instead of just thinking about questions to ask and to do that, so we can have something constructive done. So I think that, I think it would be appropriate just to wait this over.
We're not asking for any vote anyway, so.
Yeah,
Yep.
so we can.
Yep,
It's
it'll come
automatically.
back. Yep, it will just come back.
Okay.
Again, if you have any questions about any of these items, or if you think of some suggestions or something you want to address, let us know. Make sure you have Evans, and mine as well, of course. Or I'm Brandon too, for that matter, for engineering. But yeah, let us know. We'll sort of collect all that. We'll get the information to you and have that sort of public discussion about those items.
Right.
Make sure that it's all public, but if you've got those, let us know. We'll try to get that information gathered for you. And anything, right? If you want different ideas, if you want different ways of doing it, or how different places do it, or whatever else, let us know that and we'll get that to you.
So just as a general question for my clarification, any communication with yourself, Mr. Boggs and Mr. Hoyer, or any of us, I mean, this is an ongoing process because this is only a once a month meeting, so it's totally appropriate to be able to
Yeah, I've
talk about these things.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, you'll have to take the open meetings act training. We'll get that out there. So, not watch yourselves outside of it. But again, we'll sort of gather all that. So if you've got questions or if you've got questions for Brandon, for Evan, you can email it to them. We'll add it to sort of a list. And then we'll have that sort of formally feedback or sort of have them present in public here. But yeah, absolutely. During that one time in between, if you've got questions or even with word packets, if you say, okay, what is this all about? I don't quite understand this. Let us know, let me know, let Evan know, and we'll make sure we get that clarification and we'll know what to say, okay, we want to make sure we focus on that at the CBA meeting when we're presenting it too.
That's great to know that,
Yep.
I think that makes for a more
Yeah.
productive.
Absolutely, yes. And I guess what else, as we're talking about new business here or different old business or wherever we're at now, but I don't want to say here, but yeah, it just contact stuff, yeah, we'll give you contact information. I just want to ask, you got laptops, I know we have a lot of requests for printing documents today. If anybody needs, we wanted to tablets, if anybody needs a tablet or a laptop, let us know. Because we have all in here, we have all the stormwater reports, we'll give you all of the reports, all the stuff, it's sort of hard for us to print, the 100 and some pages for these. Absolutely, if you want certain documents printed, we'll make sure print them for the board meetings, but yeah, we try to do that electronically here. We can get you tablets, we can get a laptop. Or if there's certain documents, let us know, we'll print those for you. As opposed to like the entire, stormwater report, it's really a stormwater reports are what they always are. Those are the big, long amounts we do, so let us know, we'll get those, and everybody's, most of this information will flow through Janelle. I think all of you probably talked to, at least got emails from. She's our permitting and architect for that, so most of that will all flow through her, you'll see from her. You'll get requests, hey, are you gonna be at this meeting, are you gonna, she'll ask that every time, just let her know, if you're at, the form or not. Or if you need more information, or if you need documents. Yeah, it will mostly flow through her on that. And then last thing I'll say, I guess, and that is the email address probably used for all of this would be permits@villageofroscoe.com or permits@roscoeil.gov. Which is what you would receive the emails from Janelle from. That's like our sort of mailbox that for all zoning stuff, permitting, all of that comes to there, and that's what I have access with, and Brandon and Evan, Janelle. That comes to all of us, so if you've got any questions or anything, you go to that email box, that's really a good way, of course you can call us as well, but for email stuff, that's just where we send things through, so.
It's very helpful, thank you so much. Is there anything else? I don't think there's anything else that we need to take up at this time. It's in board members, is there anything we need?
Comment, is there one more public comment on the agenda or anything?
Public comment?
I think it's on the agenda, right? I put it back, yes, it's not work, sure, yeah.
I'm Mike Sam, I'm one of the village board members, and we have two of the other village board members, Amy and Mike Wright, and we just want to commend you guys for the job you did today. I mean, you guys listened. I see great things with this board, so I want to thank you guys for your service. It's not easy, I'm a new board member 2 years ago, but it's not easy to go on the first meeting, is go up there and sort of figure it out, but you guys, it was well thought out. You listened, and I think that that's very important, and we're here to support you guys, and just wanted to thank you for what you do, and the existing board members as well. Thank you guys for your service, and what you're doing, and clerk and everyone else. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much.
I guess with that, Brad, do you want to?
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. So I did send a letter to Joseph and Janelle that this is my last meeting. So, I've just got too many commitments going on, and talking with Jay, he's big on the commitment, and if I can't make the full commitment, I just think it should be open to someone else. I've been on here for 4.5
Yeah, wow.
years, I think.
We absolutely appreciate it.
So I think it's time for some fresh eyes.
So we very much thank you for your
Thank you.
service. Appreciate it.
I think it was a nice meeting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, and I'm not sure if this is the correct,
And actually, do you want to introduce yourself? Do we know Chief Holmes? I don't know.
Jay Holmes,
Yeah.
Harlem Roscoe Fire, one of the chiefs over there, not the chief, but one of the chiefs. Fire Prevention Bureau, so I do all the inspections and plan reviews and stuff like that, so. The Chief Bergeron sent his concern, we love the new development next door to us, the parking area, food truck, I'm not sure what it's called, but we're concerned that people are gonna be parking there and then we don't care about the parking, it's just the safety issues because emergency vehicles coming in and out of there, you know what I mean? So we're up to like 15 calls a day, so there's a lot of traffic going in and out of there. So I don't know if there's plans for any signage or anything like that. But Mr. Pelicans here, maybe we can address it somehow.
Oh, absolutely.
And again, we love the new development. We're grateful to see it and it looks great. It's coming right along.
Yeah.
It'll probably be ready for Memorial Day.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, just his concern. So.
Yep, no, we've searched it too, as we're out there, we've been watching the development as we go,
Yeah.
and we see, a lot. You see you guys.
Outside my office windows.
Yeah, so, yeah, there'll be, that, this, there'll be sort of access, sort of blocking that back path over there, we've got, where it connects in next to the building down the driveway, but yeah, I can come talk to you guys about it, but yes, there's,
Okay.
yep. Yep, we're kind of getting it blocked. Blocked out, will be sort of directed,
Right.
not towards your
And
parking
again, we're
lot.
not opposed,
Yes.
but it's just.
Yeah, no, making sure it go towards your parking lot.
Right, with kids running.
Absolutely, yeah, yep. Yeah, and there'll be more landscaping in the back there too, and that will be going in next week, I think.
And there's quite a difference, so we're not
Yes.
worried about driving. through.
Yeah, no, we understand, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, that landscaping.
Anything further? Maybe a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a
Mr. Swanson? Yeah, thank you.
Second.
Thank you. And that's for the motion. to adjourn.
Tara,
Yes.
sorry. Hoagland,
Yes.
Scribbler,
Yes.
Spinizzola,
Yes.
and Swanson.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Well, it was nice meeting everybody and one of the next 2 days. Yeah.
That's what I'm here for, is this, right? Yeah, 5 ago, like, that's. Nice meeting you.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, don't have
Well, my first meeting during COVID.
You're seeing. I don't know, this is so weird, it's like, yeah, literally something's supposed to come out, like, this is.
It's been like that.
Every once in a while, it happens.
But I'll see you part of it. And then we'll discuss more. Like this tomorrow. And then.
Yeah, dude.
Because I called Ian stuff.
And I can show you.
Okay, like, yeah,
Mine is.
Line by line.
It's right.
Thank you.
We used to.
Okay, everybody.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I'll stop by.
It is.
I should send out an
It's
email, but
it's only the variance.
And truthfully.
You know what, I wanted to make sure that I got his name right.
Yeah, but it helps, you know, I just bring it forward.
Good day.
Design, yeah, property well.
What's his first name?
So.
Right around there.
It's.